Do we have sound now?
Yeah, and we can start over now.
So you were right. He said before we started I feel like something's missing. Okay, hello everyone. You just missed a wonderful introductory I did. I'm Tami, the creator of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook. And this is where we share all about our whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So if you're here for the first time, we are so happy to have you here. And we usually try to go live every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So join us on any given Sunday. Today it is a Q&A. We have a lot of questions here that have been submitted. So thank you to everyone who took the time to write to us, and to, we just love getting all of your wonderful comments about the work that we do here on our YouTube channel as well as our blog. And if you have questions, you can submit those in the chat feed. We just ask that you would preface them with 4 question marks, then your question, and end with 4 question marks. That just helps those pop out to Tom. And Tom, maybe you'd like to come on camera and say hello as well.
Or maybe I should go in the back room for timeout.
No, not until after the show. No timeout right now.
Yeah, I kept telling her right before I went on there, I feel like I've missed something. This was just too easy today. Something is not right, and I hadn't pushed the sound microphone to the YouTube button. So, because it shows up on the monitor there, our sound check was going just fine.
It was. We had done that.
And so to us, it looked like there was plenty of sound.
Oh, well,
so,
live and learn. It's okay. If that's the only thing that goes wrong, hey, we're doing pretty good.
Okay.
So, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Just give me question marks before your question, and if you got time after it, that helps them jump out at me. Susan, thank you so much for the super chat right out of the gate there. That's awesome.
Thank you, Susan.
I also will let you know, Susan, that I cranked out my newsletter in a little bit of a rush today. So if you find something on the newsletter, that's my fault. But
and Susan has graciously offered to edit for us. So, and she catches mistakes that we make and sends them to us, and we appreciate that because we miss things. So thank you so much for doing that, Susan. We appreciate it. Our daughter used to edit for us, but she is so busy with her children now, she doesn't have time to do that. It's always good to have a third pair of eyes.
Okay, so Tami does have, as she was mentioning, probably twice now?
Yeah.
You have a lot of questions that came in.
I have a stack.
Not quite a quarter of an inch thick. But I'll still be watching for questions on the chat feed. If they pertain to what she's talking about that moment, I'll try to tag them in while she's on topic. Or if you have another question, we might let her plow through these pre-submitted questions, and then we'll kind of catch up at the end. So
sounds good.
Let's do it.
I'm flexible, whatever works.
Okay.
So people have a lot of questions. We do want to say that we are not medical professionals, so we cannot answer medical type questions. We can only tell you what our own experience has been. And so if you do have a medical question, it would be best to meet with a plant-based doctor and have a consult.
Yeah, Tami will tell you her truths to the best of her knowledge and ask me no questions, and I will tell you no tales.
He's full of himself today.
I put that in print right on the thumbnail for the video in case you missed it.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay.
So are you going to stay on camera with me?
No, I'm going to jump off, but yeah. I'm going to jump off and let you get started.
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you guys in a bit.
Tom said that Elizabeth had already put a question in the chat feed before we got started, so he asked me if I would start with that first. And Elizabeth wanted to know why we don't cut up the romaine lettuce more when we are batch prepping our salads. And I usually just take the romaine now and cut it in half, and I put the half head of romaine in our containers that we put our batch prep salads in. And the reason I do that is the cut edges of romaine oxidize, and so they turn a little bit brown, kind of like how an apple will oxidize and turn a little bit rusty brown. And so I thought, well, instead of cutting it so much, why don't I just cut it in half? And that reduces the amount of oxidation that happens. So that's why I do it. I used to cut the romaine all up and mix it in, but then, you know, all of the little edges would just oxidize a bit. So Elizabeth, that's why I do it, but everybody can do it, whatever works best for you. But thank you so much for asking that question. Then we had a question from Anne. She made date paste. She made my date paste, and you know, I use that in quite a few recipes. And she put it in her super cubes, in the little ones, and it didn't freeze hard. And so she's like, it was a mess to try to get them out. So she wanted to know how I freeze date paste. So here is how I just made some this week, and I just put it in this plastic container. It's a Rubbermaid container. I just pulled this out of my freezer, and it stays semi-soft. So it does not freeze hard like an ice cube or juice does. And you can actually scoop out a tablespoon of this and you don't have to thaw it out. So this is how I do it. This is 1 pound of dates that I turned into date paste, and the recipe is on the blog, and also I believe we have a YouTube video for it as well. And so that's how I store it. I just put a label on it, date it, and I keep it in my freezer. When I need a tablespoon or 2 or 4, then I just pull this out, and it's very easy to measure it. So I'm actually going to pop this back in my freezer right now. So convenient to have that right there. So great question. She also wanted to know, how long will it last? Well, I usually use mine up within probably 6 to 8 weeks. And if you leave it in the freezer longer than that, it'll start to get some little ice crystals building up on it. Tom, are you wiggling me?
Yes.
It's like, ooh, looks like an earthquake, but it's not. Let's see. Also, she wanted to know, if I had to measure or guess in each meal, how much beans and starch are you ingesting? It looks like in the videos that many salads and dishes have beans and another starch, and she would like to know a total of how much. She's still trying to find the sweet spot for losing at a healthy pace. I really can't tell you because I don't measure how much beans or oat groats or rice or potatoes that I'm eating. It all depends on how hungry I am, you know, so sometimes I have a lot, sometimes I have less, and it would be different for every person. So what would work for me might not necessarily work for you. So you just have to kind of experiment. And, you know, sometimes there's an old saying my mom used to say, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You know, sometimes I think I'm really, really hungry and I take too much. And so then I just simply don't finish it. And it takes a little bit of experimentation to find out what's going to be the right amount for you. But, you know, our appetite can vary a bit from day to day, depending on how we're feeling, how active we are, and so forth. So you just, to find that sweet spot, you're just going to have to do a little test and just experiment on yourself, and eventually you will figure it out. I promise you. Okay, then Anthea said, I think I heard you say you've been enjoying Dr. Greger's Smol, S-M-O-L. I'm wondering how you make it. I tried it as written in the cookbook, but the cooking time in the Instant Pot seemed like it was too long for the millet. I enjoyed the Smol, but the millet was quite mushy and sticky. I did not have that same experience. And what she's talking about is, this is Dr. Greger's newest cookbook, How Not to Diet cookbook. It's a wonderful cookbook, and what she's talking about is he has a recipe in here called BROL, B-R-O-L, which stands for barley, rye, oats, and lentils. And he prefers the purple barley, but he also has a version, a gluten-free version, which I am gluten-free. I have a sensitivity to gluten. I do not have celiac disease. I have one of the genes for celiac disease, and I have a gluten sensitivity, plus I'm hypothyroid, and it is suggested if you're hypothyroid to avoid gluten. And so I make the gluten-free version, and it is called SMOL because it stands for sorghum, millet, oats, and lentils. And so if you are celiac, then you would want to make sure that you get the gluten-free oats, and I'm fine just using regular oats. And oats are naturally gluten-free, but if they are processed in a processing plant that also processes gluten-containing grains, then there could be cross-contamination from the equipment, and so that's why people with celiac need to buy the certified gluten-free to make sure that they don't have any gluten contamination. So I use the sorghum, the millet, the oats, and the lentils. You cook the lentils separately, and let's see, I'll tell you, it's a half a cup of each. And then you put them in the electric pressure cooker with a cup of, with 3 cups of water, and pressure cook for 30 minutes. And that worked perfect for me. And then the lentils, you do a half a cup of dried lentils and you cook those separately. And I cooked those in my pressure cooker also. And I cooked those for 6 minutes with a cup of water. So half a cup of lentils with a cup of water. But I actually doubled all of this recipe and made a big batch of it. And then I divided it up in my super cubes and froze it. And that worked great for me. So I don't know why yours came out sticky. It could just be a difference in brands of grains. I don't know, but I would try it again. And it worked great. It's extremely filling, and you can use it however you might normally use like rice. And so I just freeze it, and then I use it in taco salads, or if I'm making a NURISH bowl or what have you, I just substitute that for whatever starch that I would want to use. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl Atkins. That's so cute. That little pear is bouncing up and down. That's adorable. Thank you for the super chat. We really appreciate that. So, so that's the brol or the smol out of the How Not to Diet. And if you follow Nutrition Facts on Instagram, they are posting a lot of the recipes on Instagram from this cookbook. So if you don't have the cookbook, check out Instagram. I don't know if they're also doing that on the Nutrition Facts Facebook page or not, but they are doing it on Instagram. Okay, so that was that one. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat feed right now?
Vegana just gave you a super chat. So
Thank you. Thank you, Vegana.
yeah, there's some discussion about broccoli going on here and about sprouts. We haven't had time to explore. We haven't had time to explore sprouts because that's a whole tray of things. And you know what? My fear is that we eat a lot of greens, and so like I would wipe out.
Well, they're microgreens. You just use a small amount, like in your salads or smoothies or stuff. Yeah. I did some sprouting some years ago. I was making my own.
In the jars?
Yeah, remember, I have a jar and then a screen lid that went on top, and I was making sprouts in there for a while. But, you know, and then life just got too busy with grandkids and
I did a written comment that would be interesting to explore, but we haven't had time in current times.
I did some sprouting, some broccoli sprouts and alfalfa sprouts, and I don't remember what all. But I did some experimenting with it, and it was fun and delicious. And but I just don't. Yeah. I don't have time for it right now.
And before you move on, pumpkin seeds. Wondering what you're drinking. What's that red stuff?
Yeah, the same thing. It's my Beet Boost that I'm always drinking.
Yeah.
Let's see, and I think Tom has a link to it down in the show notes and
under NutriGardens.
And we have a discount code.
Yeah.
So let's see. Kathy on Facebook said that she watched the Weight Loss Summit, and she what?
on the East Coast, the Oprah show is coming on in 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I need to talk faster.
I know. I have it set to record here, but our show time isn't until like 7 o'clock Pacific time or something. Don't quote me on that. I put it on record, so I think it actually comes on at 6 o'clock out here. I set it to record.
Good.
Okay.
So Kathy on Facebook said she watched Chef AJ's Truth About Weight Loss Summit. She lives alone and the recipes are just too big. And so she wants to know how she can keep going on a plant-based diet, but with smaller recipes. So I would just say if you find a recipe that you really want to try, cut it in half or cut it in the third or cut it by a quarter and make a much smaller amount. Or just skip the recipes altogether and just go with really easy meals like stuffed baked potatoes where you can, put beans in those and cilantro and green onions and a little bit of salsa, or make my nachos, which are like nachos but using potatoes, or have your salads and just put your starch on them. Have vegetables and starch, half your plate vegetables, half a plate of starch, whichever starch you prefer. It could be winter squash, it could be rice, quinoa, millet, it could be potatoes, it could be sweet potatoes. Make NURISH bowls, beans, greens, and grains, or some other type of starch, and a little bit of vinegar over the top. Or make a vegan cheese sauce. I just did a whole video all about the sauces, and you can cut those recipes in half or in a quarter if that works better for you, and just keep it really simple. Yes.
Elizabeth is asking, or actually saying first, that she loves Napa cabbage and sometimes bok choy in salads. Great crunch. Have you tried either one of those?
Yeah, we usually do the purple cabbage just because I love the purple cabbage. I love the color of it and the more pigment that the vegetables have than the more antioxidants that they have. But and we like coleslaw too, and so I will use green cabbage or Napa cabbage in coleslaw. So check out our fruity coleslaw. We have a YouTube video on that, and that's delicious, and you can use whatever kind of cabbage you like in that. Okay, so Janine contacted us through email from Israel. How cool is that? And she said that her and her daughter have been plant-based for over a year, but their weight has kind of gone up and down, and they're just not finding their salads to be as dynamic as they would like them to be. They're eating about a pound at lunchtime, and they're chopping their salads up, and they're using lettuce and spinach leaves, celery, and the leaves of the celery, mint leaves, parsley, cabbage, carrots, red peppers, and they're each putting in a mandarin and a pineapple with some starch, but they're really short on being able to find any kind of healthy sauces in Israel. They just don't get all the same things that we get here in the States. And she's wanting to know how they can make this oil-free, sugar-free, flour-free, salt-free eating more appetizing. And she also wants to know how much starch should they eat at lunch and at supper. So I heard Dr. Furman, I think it was on the Truth About Weight Loss Summit, say that hunger is the best sauce. And I love that, and it's true. So, if we wait to eat until we have true hunger, food tastes so much better. And think about being gone all day. Like, we go on these really amazing hikes, and when we get home at the end of that and we're really hungry, oh my gosh, whatever we eat tastes amazing. And so that would be my first thing. Also know that there is a time for neuroadaptation that needs to occur. So when you go from eating the standard diet, and you decide to eliminate salt, oil, and sugar, and to eat healthy, whole plant foods, there is a time period where food doesn't taste as great as you wish it would. But after you neuroadapt, after your sense of taste changes, then all of a sudden everything starts to taste so much more amazing. And how long that neuroadaptation takes to take place varies a little bit from person to person. So we're talking anywhere from 30 to 90, 120 days for salt, oil, and sugar. And it just depends on how badly you were eating before you adopted this lifestyle. So that is something to consider. And I don't know how long you've been eating this way, so consider that. Also, you make some sauces. So check out our video that we put up last weekend. Also, we have a blog post and we show you how to make 4 different sauces and I show you how to use them to make really delicious entrees, and that can make a huge difference. And they use pretty simple ingredients that hopefully you would be able to find in Israel. And then, you know, there's a Alfredo, a nacho cheese sauce, a marinara, and a salsa that we talk about and we show you how to use. Fresh herbs make everything taste amazing, and dried herbs. Also vinegar. I don't know if you can get the flavored vinegars in Israel or not, but citrus juice makes them taste amazing. You said you are adding some fruit, and maybe you need to play around a little bit with your greens. Now, I wouldn't include the celery leaves in the salad because the celery leaves can be a little bit bitter, but the mint sounds great, and the spinach and the lettuce and the carrots and the red peppers. I mean, it all sounds absolutely delicious. So you can just vary things, try some different things, maybe try some red cabbage if you can get red cabbage there. Try some different greens and see, you know, what mix ends up being the most flavorful for you. I happen to absolutely love Mexican food, so do check out my Mexican chopped salad. It has so much flavor. It's just totally amazing. So I hope that helps. And if anybody in the chat has any suggestions for Janine, go ahead and include those.
So is this where the salsa, is it under guilt-free chips and salsa? Is that the salsa video?
No.
That's the different,
That's a fresh salsa.
Okay, so this is not the one that goes in the...
Yeah, that one I believe, oh, that's the pico de gallo. Yeah,
okay,
that's
so
a
that
fresh
doesn't belong
one.
in that other playlist. So
Well, you could have it in there because it's another salsa. So I would include that one. I don't think we've ever made...
sauces. You wanted me to put...
But I think that can go in there because that is a really good one to be in that playlist. But I don't think we've ever made a video of the Tami's Easy Red
what we're talking about is
salsa.
I have the chipotle and the Alfredo and the marinara in a salsa playlist that came off of the class you did.
Yeah.
But there's Tami's Easy Red Salsa is a blog post. But
It's
we
a
don't
blog
have a video.
post, but I don't think we made a video, so we need that. Put it on our list.
Another thing on the list.
Put that on our list.
Back to Tami.
Okay. Okay, now Pat sent me an email, and I'll tell you guys, if you send me an email and want information on about a recipe that you're making that day, odds are I'm not going to be able to get back to you in time for you to modify or adapt or you know, be able to execute that recipe. We just are too busy. I just don't have time to do it immediately. Oh, I put lotion on my fingers and I couldn't snap. Anyway, she was making a dish in the pressure cooker, and she wanted to know if she should add the artichokes before running the pressure cooker, or should she add that? Say that quickly. Should she add them later? And so I always add like peas, corn, artichokes, those kinds of things after it's done with the pressure cooking, because they don't need to be pressure cooked. So anyway, so if you have questions like that, I would suggest that you Google. If you do a Google search, my son-in-law gave me some very helpful information some years ago. He's an IT guy, and he said, I'm going to help you help yourself. He said, if you have a question, somebody else on the internet has already had that question, and if you Google it, you'll probably find an answer. And you know what? He's usually right. When I go to Google and Google something that I have a question about, I can usually find the answer on there. So sorry, I just can't get back to you immediately to answer those kinds of questions. Okay, so this came from Angel, and Angel says, or actually it's Jerry, I was looking at her email address. Jerry says, I have Hashimoto's disease, and even though I've gone whole food plant-based, my numbers continue to increase. She's had her medication checked or increased, and she's going to be checking it again soon. She's wondering if there's any dietary concerns regarding thyroid condition. Should she be gluten-free, avoid nightshades, avoid soy? And she enjoys our show, which we're always happy to hear that. So, well, Dr. Goldhammer recommends that, actually he recommends that everyone be gluten-free, and he says that people with hypothyroidism should be gluten-free, but he does not suggest that we avoid any other food groups. You do not need to avoid soy, and you do not need to avoid nightshade vegetables for hypothyroidism. So, and I get a lot of questions about hypothyroidism, and you just need to know that a whole food plant-based diet does prevent and reverse a lot of lifestyle related diseases, but it does not reverse all of them for everyone. And so I actually was diagnosed with hypothyroidism after being plant-based for a year, but as it was explained to me by a physician, that my thyroid had probably been working its way up to doing that long before I went plant-based. And there are people who are whole food plant-based that do end up getting cancer. Well, cancer doesn't just start overnight. That's a process that starts and probably takes years for it to be detected. And so just know, I do know there's people in the plant-based community who, after going whole food plant-based, were diagnosed with various types of cancer. And so, it's not a cure-all for everything. We certainly want to do it because it's the most nutritional way that we can eat, but it does not make us bulletproof, is what I guess what I want to say. Then let's see, Sky wrote and said, I would like to know if silicone and other materials used to freeze items are safe. Are they toxic? Do they leach into the food? So if you do a search on Google about silicone, you will find out there is food grade silicone. So for instance, the Super Cubes containers that we use to freeze food in, these are FDA approved. These are food grade silicone. They're very high quality silicone, and food grade silicone is different than the silicone that comes in a tube that's used to grout your shower, or to be used around a bathtub or that kind of thing. That is a different type of silicone. Food grade silicone is non-toxic. It's a type of silicone that does not have fillers or byproducts in it. It is a non-porous surface, which makes it safe to be used with food. So anything you want to add to the silicone conversation? Oh, Diane Jacobs, thank you so much for the super chat. We really appreciate that. So the silicone products that we use, like the Super Cubes, these are like the highest quality of silicone that they can use to make these. And so we feel perfectly safe about using those. The silicone bakeware that you can purchase, you just want to make sure that it says, food grade silicone, and which they shouldn't be selling anything other than that.
Yeah, silicone has been used in the medical world for years. So, and yeah, I have my stinky silicone tube for sealing around plumbing stuff.
Which is a different type of
industrial silicone, yeah.
Right.
So, I wasn't on the front of this conversation. Sandy Grant is mentioning to you, thank you for answering her email regarding the United States can size of Muir Glen Fire roasted tomatoes.
Oh, yes.
She's glad she asked because our can is 1/2 the size of the can sold in Canada.
Wow, that's so interesting that it's different, huh? So I need to, that was a good indicator for me that I need to specify that in my recipes. So thank you so much for pointing that out.
Oh, because you said 1 can of, not how many ounces of can of.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. All right, and yes, Diane, thank you so much for the super chat. That does help support our work, spreading the plant-based lifestyle message. Okay, I think we are ready for your next printed question.
Okay. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Just Celeste?
Celeste?
Okay. So Celeste wrote, and she was very kind and thanked us, for what we do. And I want to tell you guys that we so appreciate getting those comments from you. It really does motivate us to keep doing what we're doing. So to know that we're making a difference, that our time investment is beneficial for you. So thank you so much. When you take the time to leave us a comment or send us an email, we really do take it to heart, and we really do appreciate that you take the time to do that. So she said she wanted to make the barbecue lentils recipe, and that's a recipe, you guys, that is on the blog. We don't have a YouTube video for it, and it was a recipe that a friend of mine came up with, and she allowed me to put it on the blog, and they're delicious. So if you used to like to eat like sloppy joes when you were eating the standard diet, then that's kind of what they're like, and they're delicious even if you don't eat bread, which I don't. I serve them over a baked potato or a baked Japanese sweet potato. Anyway, she goes on to say that she thought that the Napa Valley Naturals Grand Reserve balsamic vinegar and other vinegars are not gluten-free, and she is gluten-free, and so she wanted to know what would be a substitute. So just so you know, the balsamic vinegars are gluten-free. So isn't that great news? In fact, all vinegars should be gluten-free, and so the gluten comes from the protein that is in certain grains, and so the balsamic vinegars, the flavored vinegars, white rice wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, those are all made from things that don't have gluten. So just so you know. So she says she stays away from vinegars in large quantities due to reflux issues as well. So I don't know what you could substitute, because I think that recipe, I think, uses like 6 ounces of balsamic vinegar, which is a substantial part of the recipe. So if I had that issue, what I would do is I would Google and look for a barbecue sauce recipe that doesn't have vinegar in it, or one that uses a much smaller amount. And just so you know, the balsamic vinegars, like the Napa Valley Naturals Grand Reserve, is less acidic than a regular vinegar. It only has 4% acidity, and regular vinegar is 6%. So I don't know if would be enough to make a difference for you with the reflux issue or not. But I would just Google and try to find a different barbecue recipe then, and a barbecue sauce recipe, and see if you can find one that has a smaller amount of vinegar, or maybe there's one with no vinegar. I don't know. And if anybody knows of one, put that in the chat. And if you know of a substitute to use for the vinegars in recipes that are savory, that would be great too. And so this also brings up a really good point about substitutions. I get questions about substitutions all the time. And if you have an allergy to a certain food, unless I have that same allergy, I honestly don't know what you can substitute for it. And so I often think, well, what do you use in other recipes then? If you can't use, like I get questions about nutritional yeast, bananas, dates, all kinds of questions about substitutions. So let me address nutritional yeast. So if you want to make like the chipotle nacho cheese sauce, I would say just leave it out. Just leave it out. Add a little more oats or a little more potato to it, or you could add a little bit of roasted red pepper, and that would give you some flavor. There's a couple tablespoons like in my marinara sauce or in the Alfredo. Just leave it out. Now, if it's like, I'm going to say 1/4 to 1/2 cup, that's called for in a recipe, then you might need to increase some other dry ingredients. So if there's oats in it, I would increase the oats, or I would decrease the amount of liquid, because the nutritional yeast is a dry powder and it does help add consistency to the recipes when it is such a large volume. In the marinara, where it's just a couple tablespoons, just leave it out and you'll be fine. If it's adding flavor, like in a cheese sauce, the chipotle nacho cheese sauce has so much flavor going on from the seasonings that I use in it that I don't think you'll miss the flavor that the nutritional yeast offers. I get asked about bananas in recipes all the time. Like my quinoa banana oat muffins, like someone asked me, well, I can't have quinoa and I can't have bananas. What can I use instead? I was like, find a new recipe, because I don't know how to make quinoa banana oat muffins without quinoa and bananas. But in a lot of baking recipes, depending on what the recipe is, maybe you can substitute applesauce, pureed peaches, pureed mango, maybe a combination of Japanese sweet potatoes or Hana yams that have been oven roasted, because you have to remember that the banana is offering a lot of the sweetness in those recipes. And so the Japanese sweet potatoes or the Hana yams aren't going to be as sweet. So maybe I would do substitute maybe half Japanese sweet potato that was oven roasted, so it's at its peak sweetness, and half mango or half pureed peaches. And you kind of have to experiment and see what would work best, or do a Google search, you know, what to substitute for bananas in a recipe, and see what you can come up with. And then Perry wrote, and I think it was on Facebook, on a Facebook comment, and her family is allergic to dates, and so she wanted to know what she could substitute in some of those baking recipes for dates, because so many plant-based recipes call for those. Well, I know that Dr. Furman uses a lot of raisins in a lot of his recipes, so I think if you pureed raisins, you could come up with something similar to date paste. You know, puree the raisins with some water, and if the raisins are a little bit more dry, then I would soak them in boiling water like we suggest you do if the dates are really dry. Or you could try some other fruits too. You could try dried fruit like apricots and see how that works. So just kind of experiment. And I didn't have time to go on the internet to Google what to use in place of dates for substitutions, but do that and see what other people have come up with. Then Kathy wrote to me and said that she wanted to know what sesame seeds to purchase to use to make her own tahini and for like making hummus and so forth, because when she was reading reviews on Amazon, a lot of people were saying that they were finding mouse droppings and insects and all kinds of really unpleasant things in the sesame seeds that they bought from Amazon. So I don't have like a good source for you on that. I purchased a jar of them at Whole Foods. And so, and they, you know, are in a clear container and they seem perfectly good. And I haven't found anything in them that seemed like it didn't belong there. And so I would go to either maybe if you have a Whole Foods or a really good grocery store that carries things like that. You want to get things from a supplier that has a lot of turnover. So maybe you have a health food store near you, and they might be able to help you with that too. So, but Whole Foods is one of my go-tos. Yes.
Misty Blue says, not enjoying a plain potato. I prefer earth balance and pink salt. What else can I use to duplicate the flavor of earth balance and pink salt?
Yeah, you're going to have to neuroadapt on that, I think.
Well, Dylan's got his magical stardust.
Yes, you could get that out of the cupboard and show them that. So, so I don't have anything to offer you up as a substitute for the butter. I can tell you that you will neuroadapt and change. I love salsa on a baked potato. I love one of our cheese sauces on a baked potato. So on the blog is Donna's cheese sauce. We also have a YouTube video on that. Or our chipotle nacho cheese sauce. Or hummus is delicious on a baked potato. You can get salt, oil, and sugar-free ketchup. You can. I'm talking to the wrong camera, I think. We're on this one, and I was talking to this camera.
Yeah, we're on the joint.
Okay.
Okay, we're here on this one. Okay, you just mentioned the cheese sauce. One of our viewers earlier up, they're making the chipotle nacho cheese sauce without the chipotle nacho, and just using it as a base cheese sauce and without the spices, and using it as a smooth, creamy cheese sauce.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would
you
work.
can totally do that.
Yeah. So anyway, this is my favorite salt substitute, Stardust by Dylan from Well Your World. And then the old standby before that is the Benson's. And the Benson's has more dill in it, somebody said.
I don't know. You'd have
Yeah,
to
it's got
compare.
more of a dill. So this is a little edgier salt flavor, and this one is more of a smoother salt flavor. So these are the two salt substitutes. And
Yeah, so
we
this
get along
one-
fine with them.
This one is on our Amazon page, and you can also order it direct from Benson's if you want. And then we have a link
down in the show notes.
to Well Your World, and we are affiliates.
Yes,
with them.
wellyourworld.com/nutmeg. Big surprise. And that will take you to Tammy's. You know you've arrived when you're looking at Tammy's face. You're at the right page. You can go from there and check out his products.
Yeah, and some people like vinegar, balsamic vinegar on their baked potato, or apple cider vinegar. It just depends on what your tastes are. Dylan from Well Your World, where the Stardust comes from, he also has a variety of sauces that are delicious. There's an Indian sauce, an Asian sauce, there's ketchup, there's barbecue sauce, there's hot sauce, and they're all SOS free.
For a snack, you take a pre-cooked Yukon Gold, break it in half, and just put a little dab of Dylan's sriracha sauce on there for a spicy snack.
I love it.
Although we don't eat snacks.
Well, sometimes if
dinner's
running late,
I will get a potato.
Yeah,
and spice it.
And that is really good. So just know that, it takes a while. Your taste buds will change. And you can also try, there's a lot of SOS-free seasonings. We love the line of seasonings from Local Spicery. That's localspicery.com. And they mill all of their spices in small quantities. We don't have an affiliate with them. We just happen to love their products, and we like sharing the products that we love and use. And so, you just have to experiment, be patient with yourself, and eventually you will neuro-adapt, and you will find that you don't even need anything on the potatoes. Eventually, the potatoes just taste really great by themselves. But in the meantime, experiment and try different things and see what comes up. I get asked quite a bit what makeup I use, and I don't think I've ever answered anybody before. And then somebody, Jeannie, emailed me this week, and she wanted to know what pencil I'm using for my eyebrows. And so when I started becoming hypothyroid, my eyebrows started to fall out, and they never fully came back in. And so I used the blonde eyebrow pencil from Laura Mercier. And Laura Mercier says that they are cruelty-free. None of their products are tested on animals, but it does not say that they are vegan. But that is the line of makeup that I have used for years and years and years. And that's Laura Mercier. And locally where we live, it is sold at Macy's and at Nordstrom's. And you can also probably purchase it online as well. Yes. Tom's
I have a
raising
question.
his hand.
Off camera.
Off camera.
That's why I try to wait for her to see if she's done, so that I don't interrupt. So anyway, next question. A little question and then a food question. This device in front of me here, that's the video controller. That's how I'm switching the cameras around. It's where I forgot to push the sound button right here. Can you see? Yeah, that little red dot. If you guys don't see this red dot when we're on, well, actually I had you solo, so they couldn't have seen the red dot. Yeah, this light has to be on or there's no sound right here.
Well, see, you need to tell me that so that I can be your backup.
That'd be your last, like shutting the garage door when we leave.
Yeah.
Pilot to co-pilot to pilot, garage door is down.
There you go.
Melanie is asking, okay, now to a food question. What is your favorite way to eat baked purple sweet potatoes? The Stokes potatoes, it would be my, what we call them here, the baked purple ones, and I just eat, we batch cook them. Tami cooks them with all the other potatoes. We don't buy as many of those. We buy maybe half a dozen, 6 or 8 of those. And,
every week.
And those are my dessert for lunch typically. And I just warm them up for maybe 30 seconds in the microwave because they've been pre-cooked, and break them in half and finger eat them and like a delicious dessert because they are so amazing by themselves, warmed moderately. That's my answer.
Yeah, and that's how the grandkids like them too.
Oh, I have to compete. I bring actually spare potato because if they see me getting out a purple potato, then they all start demanding purple potatoes as well. So I have to come prepared with extra purple potato or there's a problem.
Yeah,
So
and they just like to eat it just plain because they're delicious that way.
Okay.
So there you go.
So yes, pumpkin seed. That's a new device. I did not have that last year. That's part of this is the kind of thing we use Super Chat money for. Is that as the channel grows, we try to reinvest in our ability to serve the message. So
okay.
Next question. I'm going to put you back on camera, Tami.
Camera Tami. The Tami cam. Oh, what was it? Oh, somebody wrote to us and said their husband calls me Twilight Tami because they watch the wife watches my videos on her phone or her iPad in bed before she falls asleep, and so now he calls me Twilight Tami. That just cracked me up. So anyway, so Sky wrote and said that it would be helpful to have an index of our videos if there was a list, a content list, saying, if you want to know about potatoes, go to this video and that. So, and that is a great idea. We just don't have the time right now to
Google
organize that. If somebody wanted to volunteer to do that for us and like put it in a PDF, if somebody has free time and needs a project, that would be totally awesome. A lot of our lives, we can't even remember which live we talked about what in sometimes. And so I'm going to throw that out there. If anybody has extra time on their hands and needs a project, that would be a very helpful thing to do, to create an index of our videos. We just don't have time to do that right now. But Tom was saying, Google it. And so do you want to come on, Tom, and talk about that?
Okay. I hope I didn't push an extra button there. How I look up things on Nutmeg Notebook is I just go on the general Google search and I type Nutmeg Notebook in, and then whatever it is I'm trying to find, whether it's a potato question or a sauce question or a grain question. Sometimes I do some of the little batch cooking chores when Tami might be busy in another part of the house, and so I just grab the computer and Google it on Nutmeg Notebook, and it like always comes right up.
So either for the blog or for YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, the blog is best Googled on Google, and a YouTube video is best Googled on YouTube search. Go into your YouTube, go onto YouTube, and there's a search bar. It's not like, it doesn't jump out at you. It's just a little square box up in the top center, and type any question you have in there, or even just an ingredient in the Nutmeg Notebook. And if Tami has baked it, sliced it, diced it, Instant potted it, or put it in an oven, it's gonna come up on that. And we try to title things fairly descriptively. The only mystery is the live shows have a lot of variable content.
They do, especially the Q&As.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it's, when I have a topic, then it's mostly about that topic, but it would be hard to narrow down the Q&As. Somebody could do it, somebody could listen to them, make notes of what was in them, and then, if we had started...
Where would that document live?
It would have to be like a PDF or something, and then we'd have to put it
Yeah.
on the blog. But also, like a lot of times people people leave me a Facebook comment or send me a direct message on Facebook or Instagram and ask me, can you tell me how to air fry potatoes? Can you tell me how to make oat groats? Can you tell me, I don't know, it could be all kinds of things.
Those are really easy to Google.
And those are really easy to Google, and you will get an answer quicker.
And most likely, and if you put the Nutmeg Notebook in there, Tami's video is going to come up.
So you can put oat groats, Nutmeg Notebook. You can Google that, and my blog post and my video will come up. You can Google Nutmeg Notebook, air fried potatoes.
Yeah, one comment.
And that will come up.
One comment, I'm going to jump in on your blog post. You mentioned it, so I'm not interrupting, I'm contributing.
Go right ahead.
Tami's blog posts are comprehensive complements to anything we cover specifically on YouTube. So if she did a video earlier this week about what was inside our monthly NURISH box. But on the blog post, she shows you pictures of all of the stuff that she cooked, the finished product of what she cooked with the beans that were in the NURISH box and with the recipes that were in there. And that's consistent with all of the videos. The videos are great to watch and say, okay, yeah, I can do it that way. But if you want more details, if you want the printable recipe, we've always said that that's on the blog post. You go there and she uses a special program to make it easier for you to print out. But the description and what she's done with the food item and how it's been served and how it's been plated, the blog is a goldmine for going deeper on a particular food subject, thanks to her wonderful blogging talents. So
thank you, honey.
I'll let you
and if there's variations in things, I don't always think to say everything when we're making a video, because there's in the making and showing of a video to make a recipe, there's so many things that I'm thinking about and getting lots of direction from my producer. And so we don't always remember to include everything about variations or tips.
I left an outtake on the last video, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, you can hear me giving her a little bit of direction in the background. And then she still didn't get it right. And so I left it on the back of the video. So,
but he showed it to me before we aired it. He doesn't air my bloopers without my permission. Okay, no, I have another page of
okay, I was going to ask you if you have more, so I'm going to let you have at it. Go.
So, and the first one was about finding recipes on the blog and the YouTube channel. Just Google it, and you'll get an answer much quicker than if you wait for me to reply with a link. And so Google it and see what you can find. As far as how much to eat, how much starch to eat, and how many meals a day to eat, and how many cups of beans to eat, I've gotten so many emails. I didn't even print them all out because there were so many people asking the same question. And so again, you have to do an experiment of one. And I totally get it because we have a diet mentality. So we're used to Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and South Beach and I don't know, whatever other diets there are out there. We're used to being told, here's what you need to eat. Well, the truth is, nobody can tell you how much is the right amount for you. For instance, way back when, before I went plant-based, when I was doing Weight Watchers and I was counting points, I wasn't eating because of hunger in the evening, but if I had 5 points left over, then I was told, that's how many points I needed to eat for the day. I would scrounge around and find something to eat those last 5 points, even if I wasn't hungry. And so it wasn't teaching me to listen to my body and to eat according to hunger. I was eating according to an arbitrary number that somebody told me that I needed to eat on any given day. And that is just crazy. And so I know that it's difficult to get out of that trap of thinking that we should have a preset amount of food that we're going to eat. If you grew up on Weight Watchers or dieting like I did, then you have that mentality and you have to get past that. And so the only thing that we need to be concerned about is what kind of food are we eating. And watch my calorie density video, and I teach you in that how to sequence using calorie density. So Google that, sequencing, calorie density, Nutmeg Notebook, and my video will come up. And once you learn what the calorie density is of certain food groups, you just need to keep those food groups to 600 calories or less per pound for weight loss. And you can choose freely amongst those foods, and those are going to be all the low calorie density plant foods that are the highest nutrients. And then you just, at every meal, have half your plate be non-starchy vegetables, and the other half can be starch. And starch is our unrefined carbohydrates. And so that is going to be potatoes, rice, millet, quinoa, whatever starch grain that you like. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, corn, peas, beans, lentils. And you just want to eat until you are comfortably full. Now, somebody left a message or a comment on last week's video. It wasn't that same night, but later in the week, and said, you and Chef AJ say that people can eat as much of food as they want if it's 600 calories per pound or less and lose weight, and that's not true. Well, the truth is, that is not what I say. I say that you can eat until you are comfortably full, and that is what Chef AJ says as well. The problem is, if you are eating past being comfortably full, then you may be taking in too many calories, and you're probably not overeating on non-starchy vegetables, which are only like 100 calories per pound. You're probably overeating on beans, rice, and potatoes that will be somewhere, between 400 and 600 calories per pound. And so if you're overeating on those higher calorie density foods, you very may well gain weight. You probably won't be losing weight. And so the key is to listen to your body and to eat only until you are comfortably full, and then stop. And don't eat past 7 o'clock at night. If you go to bed at 10, you need to have a 3-hour gap. You need to make sure that you're eating plenty of non-starchy vegetables. And so in order to find out what's the best balance for you is going to take experimentation. And so, this week you try this, you eat this amount of starch, whatever it is. And if you think that when you're done with it, you're still hungry, wait 20 minutes and see if you're still hungry. Or are you just used to stuffing yourself? And I totally get that. And I'm not being critical of anybody. It takes a while to get used to it. It also takes a while for people to get used to eating starch, but you need to eat enough starch that you are satiated. Otherwise, you're going to be back in the kitchen looking for something else to eat. And we don't want to be eating constantly either. We want to have space between our meals. We want to give our body a break from constantly metabolizing food, and food tastes better when you have true hunger. So when you write to me and ask me to tell you how much to eat, I can't tell you that because I don't know how active you are. I don't know how hungry you are. I don't know how much food your body needs. You have to figure that out. I did already talk about how a plant-based lifestyle doesn't fix everything. I do get a lot of emails asking me why I still take levothyroxine for my hypothyroidism, why my plant-based diet didn't cure that. And it doesn't for everyone. I have some friends who went plant-based and were able to get off their thyroid medication, and that is not true for me. And so You know, I don't feel bad about that at all because I know that I'm eating the healthiest diet that I can eat. And I'm okay that I still have to take a very small amount of levothyroxine. So, you know, if your thyroid stops producing enough hormone, then you have to take the supplements in order to function properly, because the thyroid is in charge of so many things that our body does. And so it's not something to mess around with. Do not go off your thyroid medication unless your doctor has deemed that it is okay for you to do that. So I keep taking mine. I eat extremely healthy, and I'm quite happy with how things are going. Also, people ask me how long it took me to lose my weight. And you know what? I didn't keep track of that. And it's actually, it's irrelevant because everybody's journey is their own journey. And so, and we can't predict how much weight we're going to take off. Our body is going to release the fat in the manner that it wants to. And we just have to be at peace with that. And for most of us, we didn't get overweight overnight, and we're not going to get to a healthy weight overnight. And so you just have to be patient, put in the work, and make sure that you're doing everything that you can do to be successful. Also, nutritionfacts.org is a super good resource for all kinds of questions that people ask about different lifestyle related diseases. If you want to know more about diabetes or thyroid, or if you have questions about certain foods or supplements or anything plant-based and healthy, Dr. Greger runs the nutritionfacts.org. He reads all of the studies, the medical studies and journals, and then he makes these amazing videos for free. You have free access to everything on his website, and you can use the search on there, and you can find so many topics that he has videos on there. So that is a really good source. And then if you feel like you aren't getting anywhere with your personal physician who isn't plant-based, then I do highly recommend that you try and get a consult with a plant-based physician. And there was already quite a few of them doing that before the pandemic, but since the pandemic, so many more physicians are doing that. So you can just, again, you can Google how to find a plant-based doctor, and all these different resources and websites will come up. There is plantbaseddoctors.org. You can go to the True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California. The True North Health Center, they have a website, and you can book a consult on there. They have all plant-based physicians that are working there, and they now are doing telemedicine. And I think it's around like $100 for a phone consult. And there's pcrm.org, find a doctor, and there's more. And if anybody has, I didn't have time to look up more before we went live, but if anybody has a link to any of the resources where you can find a plant-based doctor, if you just want to include that in the chat feed, that would be great. And Tom's coming back on camera.
Are you caught up?
Yep.
Okay, a question from Martha, and she says she just caught our live, so maybe she's just jumping in now. Her question is that she just started a whole food plant-based diet. I'm interjecting that, and seems very tired all the time. What should I do? Randy has already offered up that perhaps she's not eating enough starch, and that's why her energy is running low. That would be my first guess.
Yeah, we get our energy from carbohydrates. And I know when people first adopt a whole food plant-based lifestyle, they're usually a little afraid of eating the potatoes, the rice, the corn, you know, all those starches that we've been told to limit. Starch is bad, carbs are bad. Well, carbs are not bad. That is where we get our glucose. That is where our muscles get the energy. That's what helps our brain function. And so we need to make sure that we're getting an adequate amount of starch. Also, I would say, you know, probably a good time to have a consult with a physician and get your blood work done. I was feeling really tired about a year ago. I went in, had my physical, and found out that my vitamin D was at 8. It should never drop below a 25. So I had extremely low vitamin D and had to start doing heavy supplementation with a prescription vitamin D. And I'm still supplementing for that. And so it was causing me to have a lot of fatigue. When right before I was diagnosed with being hypothyroid, I was having extreme fatigue. And, you know, found out when I had my lab work done that I had hypothyroidism. And so there can be other contributing factors to being tired and not having enough energy. And so I would definitely see my physician and get some blood work done to rule out anything else, and then go from there. You know, just make sure that you don't have some kind of underlying medical condition that needs immediate attention. Anything else, Tom?
Yeah, I just was going to cover what's going on at Supercubes, but I got to find the email.
Oh, okay. So while you're doing that, I'm just wondering, well, do you have the chat so I can see if there's any questions?
Not while I'm
not while you're looking
I'm looking
there.
up the email.
Okay, no
I can
problem.
pretty much remember all of it. So in the newsletter I sent out earlier today, I did a little update on what's going on with Supercubes. As some of you know, that Tami was showing those earlier. They were on Shark Tank a couple of weeks back and struck a deal with Laura and Lori, and in the email I got from Jake, they in 2 days sold what would have been like a 3-month supply of one of the particular sizes. So the event was very successful beyond their expectations. They do have more inbound shipments. There is some product at Amazon and coming to Amazon in the near term. And I put a link in the email I sent to all of our Nutmeg Notebook subscribers, which is about half the number of folks that are actually subscribed on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to Nutmeg Notebook, you're not getting all the information. That there is some availability coming up on Amazon shortly. So if you go to the Nutmeg Notebook shop, the link is in the show notes. It will take you to our page and you click on the food storage category and you can see what Amazon has there, and it'll say ships on March 13th, ships on March 16th. There's different dates, but they're more near term. And then Jake is expecting to have their web-based inventory kind of back to normal, was the phrase he used, by the end of this month, by the end of March.
Yes.
But we had they just sold out. The 2-cup size was very popular, and it was gone like within 2 hours of the airing of the show.
Yeah, so crazy.
It's just been crazy. We will keep our ear to the internet on that too, and we'll be doing a formal announcement when we see things starting to break loose as far as inventory. We've been talking about these a lot lately. They are solving problems, storage problems for a lot of folks.
Yeah, we're getting such good responses
more
back
and more
from people.
into our storage. I mean, our freezer is now freer breathing because we're not using those bulky 4-cup storage bins. So anyway, we will keep you updated on that. A great success. If you haven't seen our video, I have a link to that also in the newsletter. And
to the Shark Tank.
To the Shark Tank. And we did a dedicated Supercube video that is on this YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And a blog post.
It'll get better soon, because I know we've got people stacked up waiting to get them, because they were pretty much flying off the shelf and then it just stopped. Like there were, in one day there just were no more going out the door because there were no more to go out the door.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh dear, okay.
Super successful. We're so excited for them. So it's great for that young couple.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to what happens in the future, but we do always have our affiliate link for you, so appreciate it when you use that to get to Supercubes.
Yeah. And then I've gotten some emails from some people that want like to have a consult. And again, I just don't have time to do private consultations. But if you remember our friend Lori Armitage, who we interviewed, I don't know, has it been about a month or so ago, maybe longer than that now. She has decided to start up her own little business, I guess I want to call it. So she is doing plant-based consultations. And so it's Laura Talks. Tom has, do you have the link in the show notes? Yeah, so the link is in the show notes. So if you didn't see...
in the show notes? I'm not sure it's in the show notes.
It was in our newsletter, I know.
It's in the newsletter.
It was in the newsletter. But I think it's lauratalks.com. Laura, if you're on...
Well, just go to her video. It's in the show notes of her video.
Did you put her
I
the
added
link?
it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So Tom added the link to the video that we did. But I think it's lauratalks.com. But Laura, if you're watching and you want to put in a link to your website, feel free to do so. So she will do a free consult initially for anyone who learned about this on Nutmeg Notebook. And so if you can just, I think that's the code to put Nutmeg in. And we're not doing an affiliate or anything with her. We're just trying to help promote her. She's absolutely amazing, has her own tremendous weight loss story. And she decided there is such a need for people to have somebody to talk to. And she's happy to be that person for you. So, so check that video out. And she's doing personal consults. And she's absolutely adorable. Watch the video. Really fun to talk to. Has such a positive, you can do it kind of attitude that is just contagious. And so she'll be a great coach for people. Okay, I think we're done. Wow.
Yeah. So Jesse and Randy, thank you so much for answering so many questions in the chat feed as the scroll was going along. Someone mentioned that we have slow mode available on the chat. I haven't needed that yet, or maybe.
There's a slow mode.
Yeah, because I'm trying to keep it more in real. It slows it down so that so that it's not going by so fast that you can't read it. Ours doesn't quite do that.
I didn't know that we even had that.
Yeah. So, but thank you for that suggestion. If we get more than like 400 people on a live, then then it starts going really fast.
Yeah.
And jumping, and so you can slow it down.
Wow. So we will be here next Sunday, and you guys, give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. That helps our ratings.
Oh, we're going to be with Dylan on Thursday.
Yeah. So next Thursday we will at 3 p.m. Pacific. 3 p.m. Pacific?
Yes.
At 3 p.m. Pacific, we are going to be...
Did you say Wednesday?
Thursday.
Okay, Thursday.
Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, we will be on Well Your World with Reeves and Dylan. So that will be on their YouTube channel, Well Your World. And we're going to be teaching Dylan how to make a chopped salad. So that should be pretty fun and exciting. So they contacted us, and Reeves had the idea that I could teach him how to chop a salad because she bought a bowl and has a mezzaluna knife, but they want to add more salads to their diet and get more greens in. And so he was like, I just need to know how to do it. So that should be fun. It is not a competition. I was clear about that.
No, it's class. It's a class.
It's a class.
Yeah.
So we're not doing
It's not speed chopping.
No. So I'm going to teach him how to make a specific salad. So I hope he likes it. I gave him two options, and he didn't pick the one I thought he would pick because I thought he really likes spicy food. So I thought he would want to do my Mexican salad, but that's not the one he chose. So anyway, it should be fun. To do that. So join us for that. And if you can't watch it live, which I know if you're working or you have things going, you can't, you'll be able to watch the replay. The replay will be available. But remember, that's on his channel, on Well Your World. So that's Thursday. If you get the newsletter, it's all in the newsletter. And then on Sunday, we will be back here at 4 p.m. and we will have an exciting announcement to make next Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, earlier in the chat feed, somebody asked about we broadcast our morning walk to Facebook, and why don't we stream it to Facebook and YouTube at the same time? I'm not sure our phone bandwidth
can do that,
or if it just goes to StreamYard and goes out from there. I guess we could explore to do that. One of my hesitations is I don't want to confuse the Sunday situation with 2 streams except Chef AJ streams to YouTube
3-4 times a day.
3-4 times a day. So maybe I should explore streaming to YouTube and to Facebook from our morning walk.
Good. So what he's talking about is on Sunday mornings, we go for a 4-mile walk most days of the week. But on Sunday morning, we do a Facebook Live while we're out walking. And we talk for an hour because it takes us an hour to walk the 4 miles. And so we just do a live and we answer questions and we talk about our week and we show people what we're seeing on our walk. And
some people go on their walks with us, except in different parts of the country.
Yeah, some people go on their walks and walk while they listen to us, and it's just a really casual hangout. It's fun. It's no stress. And sometimes I have a topic to talk about, and sometimes I don't. And so we do that. Right now we're leaving.
When you don't have a topic, you're talking about questions coming in. So it meanders a bit more.
Right. So we go usually right now between 7:30 and 8, but as the weather gets warmer, we'll start going earlier and earlier to get the walk in early. So, and it is time change next Sunday too, so don't forget to...
Be aware of that. Yeah, daylight savings time kicks in.
Yeah, so we'll have to change our clocks. So make sure you do that on Saturday night, for those of you who live where we do that. And but we'll have a special announcement next Sunday.
No change in Arizona.
So we hope that you will join us for that.
Barbara Garcia says, buenas noches.
Oh, Lucy's on. Hi, Lucy. So Jesse told you, if you want to get the newsletter, go to nutmegnotebook.com. And when you go to the website, a little pop-up will come up, a pop-up window, and it'll ask for your email. And that's how you get on our email list. And then Tom sends out an email once a week at least.
Before every live show. It's before every live show. So if we're not having a live show, there's probably not an email, but most Sundays there's a live show.
Yeah, or if we have extra things going on, sometimes he'll send something out earlier in the week.
An educational program. I send those out. Yeah.
So, we try to keep you informed on what's going on in the plant-based community when there's free events, educational events that you can take.
This coming week is the free Team Shirazi, the neurologist, the brain health masterclass is coming up. And then if you want to know more from there, they have other offerings, but I did put that in today's newsletter, as well as a couple of independent emails earlier in the week, because they're trying to share that with as many folks as they can in this particular time frame. So today's email is the last one you'll get from me on that one.
Yeah. So if anyone is here new for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. We hope it was informative. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll check back. So sometimes we interview somebody in the plant-based community, or we do different things. Just depends on what we're able to set up and what we have going.
But join us on Well Your World, 3 o'clock on Thursday.
Pacific time.
Yes. Okay.
That'll surely be fun. Give us a thumbs up. Share this video. If you belong to any plant-based Facebook groups, you're more than welcome to share our videos. You can put links. You can click on the share button and you can share them. Also, any of our recipes on the blog, you can share the link. Somebody recently wrote to me and said, how can I best share your recipes? And I said, if you would just give people the link so that they visit the blog, that is greatly appreciated. And you can post links on Facebook, or if you belong to a Facebook plant-based group, you can post a link to a blog post video or a blog post with a recipe or a video.
Lori's asked a question here I want to be crystal clear on. Lori's saying, daylight savings time already? Is that why Well Your World is at 3 p.m. and not 4 p.m., or did I miss a time change? The time change is not until a week from today. So the time change does not affect the schedule at Well Your World this week. So his usual time...
I thought it was at 4 p.m.
Arizona time, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Okay.
After the time change, because Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time, so this is where this gets crazy.
I know, it's so confusing.
In 2 weeks,
I'm confused.
in 2 weeks, it'll change. But Dylan's on the same time that he has been in recent months, and that's not changing because he's going to be on his standard.
So is his show at 3 o'clock? Jesse.
His show's at 3 o'clock, which is 4 p.m. Pacific, because we are not currently on daylight savings time, so we're an hour behind him. But starting after next Sunday, we actually are on the same time zone because we go to daylight savings time and they stay.
Okay.
So we wind up being at the same time as Arizona starting a week
Sunday,
from today.
On Sunday.
So that will not affect his schedule on Thursday.
Okay.
So confusing.
So it will be 3 o'clock for us on Thursday.
Yes.
And is that 3 o'clock for him?
No, it's 4 o'clock.
Okay. So confusing.
It's on my text is on my phone. He was
yeah, we were
me.
texting with them today, trying to figure out the time.
His announcement will go out tomorrow. His thumbnail and all of that. His YouTube video will be up on his site, just like we pre-post ours the day before. He posts his up 2 or 3 days before. That will be up for you to see tomorrow, the time and the place. So. And it's in, and I put it in the newsletter. It's in today's newsletter that you get from Nutmeg Notebook if you're registered at Nutmeg Notebook.
So register for the newsletter is basically what he's saying.
And then ask me no questions, and I'll tell you no tales. So, all right, we got to close off.
So thank you, Randy. Thank you, Jesse. Tiffany wasn't here today. She's off having fun with her family. So we appreciate you gals being here and helping us. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for the thumbs up.
Jesse says I have it right.
Okay, Tom has it right. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you get healthy and stay healthy, one meal at a time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys. Thanks so much for joining us.